Ego, Sewenhniseriióhak. In this capsule today, I'd like to touch on a couple of subjects. We'll start with the one I think that was on everybody's mind within the last almost a week now, was the event that happened in the Pines last Saturday, June 12th, 2021. We saw an excess of 300 people come in for this event, this party that was being held at one of the local businesses. It was clear that, yes, I think the organizers did not expect that amount of people. It choked at 344 going through the Pines, made it extremely hazardous for band members to try to drive in that area. There were certain, shall we say, very disrespectful things that were being done. People were urinating and defecating on private properties. People trying to go park and intimidate private owners across the street to let them park in their driveways. We had all kinds of, we found Coke bags, we found condoms around the elementary and daycare. From what I understand, a couple of syringes were also found. And to top it all off, one of the partygoers thought it was a good idea to sleep it off in the graveyard on one of our ancestors' graves. So total lack of disrespect. Now, I understand there was a lot of things out of everybody's control. Fact is, most of the partygoers were from the Black community of Montreal. Now, following these events and the media attention, a man by the name of Brian Smith called me up. He is a community organizer for the Black community. He was apologizing profusely for the behavior of his members. I told him that yes, it was shameful because one oppressed minority of this country coming into another oppressed minority and their territory and doing what they did, it was beyond belief. But we understand here in our community, some understand that, an apology was given by the business owner, which is really appreciated. And he also committed to canceling any future event. So that, to me, shows good faith towards the community. And I just I wish that most of the businesses would stop doing things like this. One thing is it brings unwanted attention from not just the media, from governments and law enforcement officials. So every event that you do that disrespects the community in this way is going to have an impact somewhere down the line on your business and the business of all those that are just trying to make a quiet dollar, nothing more. So we have some opportunities here related to this event. The government, this is one of the impacts of such a thing, was the last straw for them. So I went on many media interviews. They were trying to get me to blame the individual, and I said, no, it's the government's inactions over years that have led to this kind of, I guess, this free type of we can do what we want type of mentality. And not only that, with the cops, with the police, that too was a big sore spot because they did nothing that night. Either they wouldn't or they couldn't. But in the interviews, I made it clear that the police allowed this to degenerate the way it did. They didn't have to come on territory, but they could have done something outside to discourage any future behavior, which they didn't. So now we're back to another point where I'm getting reports. One store owner was going to have an event, but decided to cancel, which is greatly appreciated. But there are still two others that are planning similar events. I would advise them to not do something like that. You have no idea the attention you're bringing in here and the impact it's going to have on the rest of us. So we we had a confirmation or a commitment, a public commitment by Minister Guilbeault just a couple of days ago. She committed to having talks to reestablishing the Mohawk policing service. I know it makes some people angry or uncertain about that because of our experience with the last one. But I assure you that myself as Grand Chief, I would not promote another policing service the way it was done before. It will be totally independent from council. No band members for at least a certain time will serve in that policing service. The commission itself, we're hoping to have our sister communities provide us with individuals who have policing backgrounds, law backgrounds of any kind, and also social. So for a time, it's going to be reestablishing trust and I think a little bit more calm in the community. That would benefit everybody. I think you would agree. Now, some have been complaining on Facebook. You didn't consult anybody. Well, it's also been pointed out that many times these groups act and they don't consult anyone either. Not that I'm going to do the same, but consultations were always a big part of what the council wanted to do. Now, all the documents that we sent you on cannabis, on membership, and so on, well, those are all documents. They are not final by any means. They're part of an ongoing discussion that we're going to have. It's a starting point. Like the cannabis law, some were not happy with it. That's okay. But we are going to look for constructive dialogue when it comes to making our own laws. If everyone wants to do this the right way, there are ways of doing that. Everyone keeps telling me, we want to do it the right way. Okay, well, the opportunity will be there. If it wasn't for COVID this past year and a half, we would have had consultations well underway. Although I hate the word consultation, I prefer the direction-seeking process, and I asked the chiefs to change it to that. Because consultation is what the government does. They come in and they consult you. In other words, we're going to tell you what we're going to do, but doesn't mean we're going to abide by anything you might have objections to. So we want to try to work these documents out so that it's fair and that we can get as close to a general understanding as we can. Policing, we had 2 surveys prior to my arrival in 2011. There was one, I think it was in 2008, and there was one around 2006. And the majority of people here wanted to reestablish their policing service. They did not want the SQ here. And here we are, 16, almost 17 years later, after the fall of the disintegration of the last policing service, and we're still, we were not that much further along. So the commitment by the provincial government, who's been blocking us for years, the federal government is ready to finance. It was the provincial that was a little bit reluctant. But now they've shown it publicly that they will move with us on a future table at some point. So I would ask everybody to just stop making assumptions. We're going to answer all those questions when the time comes. Right now, we don't even have a table for it, but we're working towards it. Keep in mind that in the last 15 years or so, we've had 14 arsons. 14. Prior to the Oka crisis, we never saw fires here. It was rare. And now all of a sudden we have one almost every year. We've had 9 attempts, and we've had all kinds of acts, violent acts in the community, gunshots, high-speed chases, and nobody seems to really take our safety with much concern. The other thing too is that policing is not related simply to criminal activity. We need to take over our child protection services under C-92, but we don't have a policing service. We need to protect our environment, stop any illegal dumping, any contaminants from being brought into the community, but we have no policing service. Same thing with economic development. We need to guarantee our investors who may want to come here one day and help us with economic growth. But we can't guarantee the protection of their investment because we have no police force. I'd rather the word policing service. I hate the word police force. But for now, that's about it on that topic. I have another one coming up. Hope you'll stay and listen to it. Don't go on.